Hey everyone, this is David Ellis again with Amir Jahangari, and today we are going to be giving advice to people who have had the byproducts of spirituality visited upon them. And so what are the byproducts of meditation and ritualistic work and so on? They are precognition, being empathic, as an example, and for want of a better word, mediumship, sometimes seeing dead people. Okay. And so we're going to be giving all the tips and tricks. You could consider this another tips and tricks show, but what we're going to be doing is ways of handling those byproducts. Now, a lot of you have been on shows, because I've been on shows with Andrew, where people have called in and they are tormented, right? Because they decided to go down the path of spirituality and they didn't realize that they were opening up doorways and portals within themselves to be accessing, well, different dimensions, as an example, different levels of reality. So what we want to do today is give you guys some counsel and some advice on how to deal with those byproducts, because if you don't deal with them, a lot of people actually in the past have ended up in mental institutions, estranged from their family members and so on, because of those byproducts. And I'm calling them byproducts, but we all know what they are. They are the cities, they are the powers of spirituality. And so when you are practicing in a solitary manner and these things happen, you have no one to turn to. And thankfully, UCM is here to help you with some of that. Okay. So the first thing that I want to do is allow Amir to jump in here, and then we're going to get right into it.
Thank you so much, David. Ladies and gentlemen, my warmest greetings to you. I hope you're doing extremely well. Thank you so much for being with us here again. We appreciate your valuable time and your attention. It's the greatest gift that you can give us. Thank you so much. So, talking about what happens when you flip the switch, so to speak, or what happens if you're born with your switch flipped as a child, having certain abilities that others don't seem to quite understand. When you speak about it, they look at it as if you're the monkey, not knowing that they're the monkey and you're the evolved being, right? Or what happens if you do certain modes of spiritual practice and suddenly dormant abilities that have not shown their glory in this incarnation suddenly flip on, and you notice that you can commune with consciousness beyond that of humanity in all its forms. Mm-hmm. Or what happens if you get glimpses of what is about to come to pass, and sometimes that is not exactly quote-unquote pleasant. Well, these are things that are paradigm shifting. Mm-hmm. And they have the ability to shatter people's reality. So what happens if you hadn't the correct guidance? You did what is right for you. You did the practice and now they're on. But now you feel somewhat overwhelmed. This is going to be the topic of what we're going to speak about today. How to adjust. Imagine a deep sea diver. If they come to the surface too quickly, the nitrogen in their blood is going to start to boil. It's going to kill them. Mm-hmm. So you have to go into a pressure chamber, slowly adjust to surface pressure, and then you can come out of the chamber and function normally. So this is the adjustment that we're going to help a lot of people with. Mm-hmm. So with that intro, David, let's dig into this.
I think that a lot of people, now I want to correct something that I said earlier on. Sometimes it isn't even spiritual practice that causes this. Okay. Some people are just born like that, as Amir alluded to. And then some people have the unfortunate experience of dying in this lifetime. Okay. And yet another set of people are the dabblers that got stuff right accidentally. Okay. We want to speak to a lot of these people. There are other instances like people who do drugs. They suddenly open doorways in their mind that they would not have opened had they not done the drugs, as an example. And so we want to speak to these kinds of people because honestly speaking, the reason why we had mystery schools in the past, where places that you could learn stuff, was that it was a safe environment where your development could be nurtured and acculturated to what the present reality you were experiencing was. So the first group of people I want to deal with are the empaths, because it's the most common. And for those of you who don't know what empaths is, I will give you a brief description. It's when you feel other people's shit. What does that mean? It's like that joke I told you some time ago, right? An empath walks into a bar. That would be the joke. An empath walks into a bar. Because the joke is that inside the bar, there's a lot of safari business, what I call safari business going on. You got the lions, and they're chasing the gazelles, and the gazelles are wearing fishnets and stockings or whatever else. And the lions out there, the manly alpha male types, are trying to chase down the gazelles, and they're throwing energy around, right? And everybody's looking. And an empath in that environment does not do well. No. Because an empath will feel everybody's shit. The fear, the anger, the psychosis, the neurosis. And so empathy comes on a spectrum from, I can read your body language easily, right? But that's a kind of sixth sense in and of itself, to full-on empathy, where you're actually feeling the other individual's emotions at 100%, okay? So the problem is that a lot of empaths, when they develop this, for want of a better word, ability, they withdraw from society. They withdraw from society because it's not cool to feel other people's shit, because a lot of stuff that goes on out there is fairly negative. So an empath walks into a bar, as an example, is an example of what I'm talking about, okay? Apart from that, I would have to say that this is a very common thing in society. A lot of women, when they're in environments where there's a lot of alpha male around, they could feel the tension happening. And so what we want to do today, 9 times out of 10, is we want to be able to give you some sort of guidance so that you guys can actually get to a stage where you can exist in society and so on. And Mary, I'm going to let you jump in here.
Well, the guidance is going to be useful, how to shield yourself from the worst of it. So with empathic abilities, as David mentioned, you're picking up on everything. So if somebody's going through a bad breakup, you're feeling the agony, the heartbreak.
Yep.
If somebody is going through financial difficulty, you're going to feel the stress, the crushing energy of being in debt and not making ends meet. So it's not always beautiful energy. Every now and again, you find somebody who's having a nice day. But mostly it's deep, dark stuff that people never share even in words. They know how awful it is.
Yeah, especially in today's world. Yeah.
Yeah. So how would you shield yourself? Because as David's saying, said in the joke, an empath would never leave home, never mind step into a bar. That is funny if you see an empath walk into a bar. That's one badass empath. So hopefully we want all you empaths to be able to walk into bars and not be overwhelmed with all the energies that are around. So go ahead, David.
Yeah, no, go ahead, because we're going to do the empath survival guide soon.
Well, it becomes sort of like, well, I can share my personal strategy with you. I use crystals. I empower them and program them to shield me from certain energies. So even in my workplace, I've got a whole big bowl full of crystals, each individually charged. Otherwise, I pick up everything. Some student has failed their exam and they're worrying about what mommy and daddy are going to do to them. I pick that up. So imagine if I'm doing some serious work that's going to interrupt my research, my own study, my own academic work. So yeah, that's one strategy. It doesn't have to be crystals. It could be any object that you empower with the intention of shielding. And the more you repeat this process of empowerment, the more potent and effective this becomes. So nothing is 100% perfect, but it could give you the ability to easily function in crowded places, like a bar. So if the empath goes into a bar, look for crystals, because that's one effective strategy. I'm sure there are other effective strategies, but this is the one that I use. So you don't have to spend a little fortune on crystals. Probably among all of them, the best is quartz, master quartz.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to cleanse, it's easy to program, and it's relatively cheap. I mean, $5, $10 cheap. And that's all you really need. You don't have to spend a fortune on them.
Yeah.
So go ahead, David, please.
I think in terms of the empaths, unlike any other side effect, when you get empathy, you have no choice but to grow. No choice. So if you guys want my suggestion, if you are an empath, the problem that you're having is that you're standing in the mud with the pigs. I deliberately use that. I'm not calling people pigs. I'm giving an analogy. Okay. Imagine standing in a pigsty with the pigs. You're going to feel dirty. The only way to not feel dirty is to levitate out of the pigsty. And then you could see the pigs interacting. So it's what Andrew Bartzis calls the 20,000-foot view. You have no choice but to accelerate your own evolution. Because if you stay in that pigsty, it's only a matter of time before you start getting dirty. And that dirty feeling that you get as an empath is not a good feeling.
Agreed.
Okay? Now, empaths really suffer. Okay? They become reclusive. They don't want to interact with society. And we're here to tell you that the way to do it is actually to start evolving rapidly. And what that means is that you can't miss a day of meditation just like that. You have to keep your focus looking up. Because if you keep looking down in that pigsty, basic rules of levitation, just so that we care. Okay, for those of you who did the cities, the basic rules of levitation, think up all the time. You can't think I'm raising off the floor, because floor, there is no floor. All you could do is just think up, continually think up. And so when your empath gets into the bar, the empath can't be in that bar. Your consciousness can't be in that bar. Your consciousness has to be above the bar, looking at the scene around you from a detached perspective. And you gain detachment by evolving. Okay? Then an empath can walk into a bar. The body walks into the bar. The consciousness is looking at the scene around them. That is a technique you're going to have to practice. Go ahead.
So you're reducing your susceptibility by being above it all.
Correct. It is the basic rules of if you were being tortured. You can't be there in that body.
Yes.
Don't be there in the body. Raise your mind above the body. Whatever happens to the body, happens to the body. But what you're feeling as an empath is not impacting your body. The body is reacting to what you're feeling. I want to make a distinction. If you are an empath, the receiver is not the body. The body is the after effect. The receiver is the soul, the spark inside that sees it and collects the information at massive and rapid rate. That part of you has to get out, evacuate the premises. Then there is no body reaction because there's nothing there to receive and transmit to the body. Does that make any sense to you guys? We're doing shows that are helpful. So if you know empaths, please send this recording to them. Okay, because we at UCM realize that there's a lot of problems that need addressing. So if you're an empath, explain to the empath that they need to evacuate the body when it is that they go into crowded environments. And what that would look like is you learn to meditate, first of all, and practice getting out of that body, detached. You are here, you are looking at the scene of you being there from somewhere else.
That detachment, David, is critical. Beautifully put. So an example of this, say there's an emergency room surgeon. So first time any human being sees that kind of blood and gore and injury, they probably feel nauseous. They might even faint. But then you see an experienced trauma surgeon or a nurse working in the ward. They're detached, they're professional, they're mechanical in their efficiency. They're still present, they're seeing the whole thing, but that detachment that David mentioned is there so they can perform their task, their job. It's the same with being a healer. You have this empathetic ability, so you can read the client's energy, the person's feelings, what's going on with them, but it's not affecting you. The awareness is heightened. You know exactly what is going on. You know the flavor of energy, but it is not affecting how you perform and how you feel. So with that meditation, with that practice, you learn how to hold your own vibration. You learn how to hold your own light. Your light will not be dimmed by others. No matter how awful they feel, you're aware of it, but you're feeling bliss. You're feeling grace. You're at a positive place. And when you're in that place of positivity, high vibration is when you can really help others. So it's not just about self-preservation. It's about being able to not only help yourself, but then extend this help to everybody around you.
So I'm going to give you guys, so I'm going to give you guys two techniques of creating that detachment. Once again, the advice that we give on the show, use it at your own risk. And please don't use it for nefarious ends. So normally speaking, you guys would have to pay for this information. I'm just going to give you two of the techniques. Okay, so basically, the first technique is a very simple technique that a friend of mine from the Monroe Institute gave to me years ago. Sleep with your legs hanging off the bed. Sleep with your feet and your legs hanging off the bed, like the Wizard of Oz kind of thing. Sleep with your feet and your legs hanging off the bed. That encourages you to pay attention to the phases that you go through in the sleeping and awake cycle, okay? So it'll help you with the detachment. The second construct is the finger to the third eye construct. Let me explain. So you make a little press point right here, and then you focus on a dot that is outside of yourself, okay? And now put the consciousness there and look at yourself. Sounds simple, doesn't it? Not so simple. Press here, look at a dot that's outside yourself, and then put your mind where the dot is and look at yourself from the dot. Okay? Simple detachment theory 101. Okay? Try it. Try it for a week. Come and comment back and tell us how that works for you. Okay? It will help you with the extraction process. Because a lot of people, listen, your body could be a coat or it could be a tomb. You decide.
I really, David, you're an amazing teacher. I love how you simply put it as detachment, as in la-di-da-di-da. So ladies and gentlemen, what David just taught you is astral projection, which is no little thing. Oh my God, you just did that. That just happened. Oof. Yes, absolutely. So these techniques, they work, ladies and gentlemen. Guess what? Back in the day in the temples of ancient Egypt, same things were used. The high priest would teach the adepts the same thing. Sleep with your feet hanging off the side of the back of the bed, right? Focus on here and project out there. These are powerful visualization techniques. So the
Yep.
effects go way beyond detachment. You try and please write down what happened.
Yes.
Give us a
Try it for a week,
memoir of
guys.
your journey.
Let us know what the results are. So,
There you go.
disclaimer, which would bring us into the next spiritual byproduct. Assuming that people have had the unfortunate experience to die, something very interesting happens. Death has a way of separating, so you didn't need to do, you don't need to do what we just gave you, right? If you died on an operating table, your body would go through the normal processes it would go through had you your time on earth expired. And if some annoying surgeon or some annoying person had the audacity to defibrillate you, as an example, and bring you back down into the body. I have spoken to a lot of people who have died. I make it my business, if somebody dies, to go speak to them while they're still, while they're being brought back. They all have the very common thing to tell me. They were pissed when they got brought back. They were pissed. They have an in-depth anger inside of themselves, like, why you could just let me go? I was good. I was free. Why am I back here? And these are people that have kids and so on. They're like, yeah, I don't want to be back here. I was good. So for those people who come back, here's the problem. The experience of being, for want of a better word, out of body allows them to access dimensions that are out of body, astral world. So if you're one of these people who are suffering from astral world visualizations, I'm sorry. Some people are born mediums. If you're seeing dead people, if you're seeing ghosts, goblins, demons, and everything in between, then I am sorry that that has happened to you. A lot of people who did LSD back in the 60s still have that problem. A lot of people who did LSD back in the 60s are in mental institutions because they opened up the gateway to the astral world. Now, and obviously, if you're seeing things, then you must be mad, right? Because we've already said that in the Western world, our concept of sanity is based on statistical sanity. 98% of the population does not see things as they walk through their lives. If you're seeing dead people, then you're mad. And so this kind of vision, this kind of sight, it is visited upon people and there is no warning sometimes. I know people that went through life up until adulthood. Okay, they fell off a roof, knocked themselves unconscious for about, what, 20 minutes, came back, and their whole life has changed. The whole reality has changed. They regularly see things in their houses and so on. And so, first of all, the first thing I want to say is offer you words of comfort. You're not mad. You haven't lost your sanity. You have gained a higher form of sanity. You're not crazy, okay? You're not crazy. Probably some people who do drugs, they might be crazy, but for the most part, if you've had a benevolent ushering in of the astral bridge, then you're not crazy. And so you can try to medicate yourself. That never works. That never works. Because how many drugs do you want to take? You're going to be on that stuff for the rest of your life, okay? It's also a load on your liver as well, right? You have to deal with the things that you see. Nothing in this universe is coincidental or haphazard. You fell off that ladder for a reason. And I'm talking specifically to a friend of mine here. You fell off that ladder for a reason. You gained the sight for a reason. You can choose whether or not drugs is the answer, or you can choose to accept it, because there's a lot of people out here. There's a lot of us that have access to the astral world, whether we meditate or not, right? And there are some people that can't control the sight at all. And so they see things even when they're wide awake, because the brain has been damaged in such a way that they keep slipping into the theta state or delta wave state while they're walking around doing shopping and stuff like that. And so, guys, what we want to say, this is a phenomenon that happens to a lot of people. It's not just you, okay? There's a lot of people walking out there that are experiencing astral sight, but they dare not say anything to anyone. They're too afraid, because if they open their mouths and they say anything to anyone, nobody, A, will believe them, 2, will think they're crazy, 3, will want to institutionalize them. And I'm talking about your own family members who want to do that. So, Mary, I'm going to let you jump in here.
Yes, beautifully put, David, as usual. So near-death experiences, when the separation from the vessel, the shell, this noble vessel, occurs temporarily, the real you, the infinite you, is freed from the bounds of ego, and you start seeing more of reality.
Mm-hmm.
You're not limited anymore. The limitation is removed. You see the cosmos in its true form, that every single atom, every string of energy is conscious. It is all singing the praise of the prime creator. There is all beauty and grace. You see things in their truest form, the cause and effect, action and reaction. What you have done, what has been done to you, you feel every iota of emotion and energy. And then for some reason, the decision is made collectively that it is not your time yet. And thus the journey back to the vessel begins. This vessel that may be damaged now, may be traumatized, may need a lot of healing and repair. That infinite soul must now fit one more time into the tight confines of this prison, this cage that is the body. Mm-hmm. Firstly, what's reported is that it is painful. Fitting the ocean into a cup would be painful. And yet it's natural that not all of it quite fits back in the way that it was done when you were born. Mm-hmm. The incarnation way, the natural way. This is rather sort of like a battlefield surgery procedure. It's not perfect. So elements of your consciousness may remain permanently in the astral, yet connected to the physical body and the mind. So you see things. The things you are seeing are absolute truth. They're reality in its extended form. So just because you're oblivious to the truth doesn't mean the truth doesn't exist. And that's the condition of the majority of the human family. They are oblivious. They don't know that, that the cosmos is alive, that there are entities, sentient beings beyond physical form, angels and demons and people who've passed over, highly evolved masters, souls that are suffering all around and in plain view of someone with such an experience. Again, drugs could do the same thing, detach the consciousness from the body, opening portals, so to speak, but not all of you comes back. You're kind of 1 foot in the land, 1 foot in the ocean. So again, as David said, you're not insane. You're just seeing more than the regular person. Well, it's like somebody who has never had the gift of sight, and then through some miracle of medicine, they're given this ability. Or there's somebody who's never heard. They get an implant and they can hear for the first time. Now, if you hear an opera, a beautiful aria, that overwhelms you. Does it mean that the aria is false? Does it mean that you're crazy because you hear it and it brings you to passion and tears? No. So there has to be a level of acceptance now. Acceptance of this expanded truth, expanded reality. That what you're seeing is true just because everyone else around you is deaf or blind. it doesn't mean what you're observing and feeling is false. So that acceptance of reality is important.
One of the biggest kindnesses that I have ever done in my life was for a teenager who had acquired the site through an accident. And I had to put him in a support group with other people who had sight. That was the biggest kindness. The problem with a lot of people is that they just want to be normal. Okay. And right now on this show, unlike the other byproducts that we're going to discuss, I am not going to give you guys some sort of cure to get rid of the sight. I'm not going to do that.
To blind yourself. Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to tell you to do is to accept and understand that this is part of the natural evolution of who you are. Whatever accident you've been through, whether you died on an operating table and so on, you have the sight now. Use it, embrace it. Do not try to get rid of it in any way, shape, or form. The whole world is going to tell you, get rid of that. The whole world is going to tell you, get rid of that. We are going to tell you, keep it.
Yes.
Keep it. Because you could let this thing drive you crazy, or you could master it and actually use it. Because
Absolutely.
that sight that you have, I guarantee you, one day, the same people that are telling you to get rid of it, they're going to need it.
You know what, David? In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king.
Yes. Yes.
Look at it in this way. Yes.
So if you guys are, inverted commas, afflicted by this kind of sight, please understand there's a whole bunch of us that are afflicted with this kind of sight. And you are not alone, and you are not the only person. Okay?
Some of us have two eyes working.
Right? You are not alone, and you're not the only one out there that is afflicted. So you can choose to go to a psychiatrist who will tell you, you're crazy. Let me prescribe something for you. Or you could choose to master it and still stay in the reality that you are, right? Stay in the reality that you are. Like when you're speaking to people, be aware that you're speaking to people. But for Pete's sake, for heaven's sake, do not throw your sight away. Because before whatever happened to you, you were truly blind. 98% of this world's population are blind. Blind, I tell you. They're not only blind, they're unfeeling, they're dumb, and they're numb. The reason why the world is in this state is because a whole bunch of people cannot see. They cannot see the evil that other people do to them. They can't see the evil that they do to others. They cannot see energies. They're not clairvoyant enough to see, right? Empaths have a kind of sight in and of themselves. We just dealt with that, right? And in terms of, I've already said this on many shows, in terms of being in a relationship with somebody, trust me, you want an empath. You want to be involved with an empath. Why? Because the empath can feel the things that you can't. The things that are in the background affecting you that you can't. If you really meet a very strong empath, that is a second set of eyes to look at your own self. Okay, so empaths are actually very useful. People with sight are useful. There should be more of them, not less of them. And I want to say something here. The number of people with sight has declined. I can't say it's declined because I can't give you actual statistics on this, because a lot of empaths and people with sight are in the closet. Y'all are in the closet. This is worse than being homosexual. People are in the closet. They have the sight. They try to be normal, right? They try to be normal and they try to function, okay? If you are that person, please understand that back in the day, about 100, 200, 300 years ago, you were probably the most valuable person that there was out there. Because kings, princes, and queens and whatever, noblemen, they looked for people like you.
Yes.
You were one of the most valuable people out there. They didn't want accountants and lawyers and so on. They wanted the people with sight. Our society has changed. Technology has removed the concept of sight, but let me tell you, there's a few things that it can't replace. And so people with sight are seen as the oddballs in society, the people that you want to shun, the people that you want to lock up, the people that you want to medicate. Okay. And so what we have to say to you, what I have to say to you is that if you have the sight and you are out here and so on, and you are judging yourself for not being normal, stop that shit. I want you all to hear me. Stop it. Because the value of yourself, you have not even understood as yet. Having your eyes open or your eye open, as the case may be. You know, I want to quote the Bible here. I want to quote the Bible. If therefore thine eye be single, thy entire body shall be filled with light. That is actually in the Bible. Go research it. Now, it's like one of those verses that nobody knows what it means. We know what it means, though, don't we? So go research that verse. Go Google it. Use technology for something useful and get back to us. So once again, I'm going to say, I am not going to sit on this broadcast and give you guys any advice as to how to suppress inner sight. Okay?
Nice.
I'm not going to do that. That would be a disservice to humanity. What I am going to say is that you are valuable. Have the sight, understand that it has now become part of you, and learn to live with it and utilize it by, first of all, calming down and stop judging yourself. Amir, I'm going to pass this over to you.
Yes, beautifully put, David. Trying to hide your abilities to observe the astral is worse than hiding your true nature if you are homosexual or bisexual or from the whole range of sexuality. So, you know, it just leads to suffering, a life of deception, the worst kind of deception, self-deception. I may respectfully now here present this idea. Ladies and gentlemen, you are perfect, you are beautiful the way you are. So in our society, homosexuality was frowned upon for centuries.
Mm-hmm.
Now it is in our recent times that it is embraced. And individuals that are homosexual are the source of so much beauty in our society. There's nobody that can deny this. That beautiful, gentle, loving, nourishing nature that they have. Look at all the art, all the beauty these people bring into the world. Look what incredible human beings they are. Wouldn't it be an enormous crime to have these people suppressed and censored? Why? Because they're not like the majority? Majority be damned. I want these individuals in my life who are proud of their beautiful, glorious nature. Look at what they have done to our society now that they are finally free to be themselves. Now imagine another property of humanity. These beautiful individuals that have access to the astral, to other dimensions, they can cause healing, beauty, such grace and joy in the world unparalleled. So hiding this ability is just like hiding your other properties, other aspects of your nature. Please know this. You are beautiful. You are a divine creation, divine perfection in point of fact. Hiding this and denying it, even worse, being labeled as crazy, being labeled as being wrong, being perverted, that's bullshit. It is cruel. It is evil. The same way suppressing other aspects of human nature is cruel, unnatural, and evil. So at least in your own heart and mind, accept the beauty of what you are, this beautiful gift. You can cause healing in humans, but you can cause healing in the astral realms. Be your divine self. So it is nothing to be embarrassed of. It is nothing to be ashamed of. It must be embraced. It must be celebrated with pride. And I love that word, pride.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a massive movement, people coming out. I am what I am, and I am proud of it. This
Mm-hmm.
is something that also must be embraced in the same spirit of embracing one's true nature, the gifts, the beautiful gifts, and being proud of it. Please don't be labeled as crazy. Fuck those people. I really speak from the heart here. Fuck them all. You're beautiful, my friend. You don't need medication. You don't need therapy. You are superior to the blind. You can see. So I
Yeah.
hope you feel the passion with which I speak. It's coming from personal experience. I had to suppress a lot of my gifts because of the nature of the family I grew up in. Don't say that. Don't do that. Don't be this. Don't be that. Fuck it all. I embrace it all. I'm here now out in the open. And I'm better for it. I'm a better human being for it. Please follow my footsteps, ladies and gentlemen. You are beautiful. Come into the light, shine, that people see the radiance of your being.
Yes. Agreed. A lot of this is put onto kids who have sight, and they literally torture these kids out of manifesting their abilities to any great degree. And this is why the world is like this, because of Christian bigots and religious bigots and a whole bunch of other bigots and so on. And we're just tired of this nonsense. Honestly, like for real, I know for myself, I'm like, but seriously, like, do you not have something better to do with your time? But anyway, I want to move on to the next set of category of people, the next byproduct, which has to be the most tortured set of gifts that I have ever seen. Let me tell you a story. There was a little boy once who had the ability to sense things coming down the road. Okay? He had the ability to sense things coming down the road, but he grew up in this place where there's a lot of Christianity and so on, right? And because he's a little boy, he's innocent. And so what happens in his brain comes out of his mouth, full on error. And so, you know, you have visitors come over, and the little boy looks at one of the visitors and says to him, "You're going to die next year." And it's November. And so in January, the person that he says this to expires. Heart attack. Now, assuming that you're in a small-minded society, guess whose fault it is that the person had a heart attack? Come on, just give a wild guess.
It's the little boy's fault.
Assuming that you're in a small, but guess whose fault it is that the person has died? It's the little boy's fault. And so now everybody thinks the little boy's a freak. Okay? And so precognitives are the worst treated people in the world. Like, don't open your mouth and say anything. Okay, because if it's negative and it comes through, yeah, that's you. You caused it. Typical Christian and religious reaction, especially when it's really negative. So I don't know what advice to give to people who are precognitive. I'm going to give you a few pieces of advice. Number one, I would suggest you call that ability by something nice and easy to digest, like permutation analysis. Like I just take the variables and I put it together and I see what might lay down the road as an example, or you could call it intuitive strategy, right? But I suggest you label that something else but precognitive, right? I suggest that you do so because you will be judged by that. All your friends are going to judge you, okay? And so I have to allude here to people like Andrew. He's out there, and this is what Andrew can see. What he does, he reads the Akashic records. All right. Little known fact: Andrew is precognitive as well, right? So the ability to see things down the road does not mean, and I would highly suggest that you be very discriminating with what comes out of your mouth.
Yes.
Because two things, it never ends well for precognitives. The first thing that usually happens is that, oh, you can see what's coming down the road. And then people want to know what's coming down the road every day of the year and twice.
Lottery numbers, yeah.
So they're burdened. You are their own personal, you become their own personal, how does one put it? Soothsayer, right? Because then you become the thing that helps them avoid unpleasantness. And the truth of the matter, you can't help them avoid unpleasantness, because it has been my experience that when precognitives help somebody avoid a pothole, the person somehow ends up in the same pothole. Sorry, I just want to get this information out, but it's extremely funny to me, right? It's extremely funny to me now, right? The person ends up in the same pothole like a couple of buses down the road. So you're not helping anybody. If it's their destiny, they're going to end up in that pothole, they're going to end up in that pothole, no matter what you do, no matter what you tell them. What they're supposed to do is learn from the lessons from the pothole. So knowing that the pothole is there is not going to help them unless they understand why the pothole is there, and then they can remove it at the core. But if they're running pothole energy, then they're going to end up in the pothole no matter what you tell them. No matter what you say. You can say, there's a pothole there. Oh, okay, let's move this way. Right? But they have pothole energy. Potholes will appear everywhere in front of them. They're going to end up in that pothole. Okay, so for those of you who are practicing precognitives, meaning that you all have a business where you all are psychics or whatever else, my suggestion is that you change the concept of psychic to spiritual counselor. Change that label, because you need to tell people that the pothole is there. This is how you remove it internally. So you got to learn some counseling skills, because telling them that the pothole is there, you know they're going to end up in that pothole even after they leave your practice or whatever else. That's the first thing. For those of you who are precognitive and have a, how should I say, a loose tongue, please understand that you are attracting trouble to yourself in ways that you cannot imagine. You know, back in Salem, you know, some of those ladies that got hanged and burnt and drowned and stuff like that. You want to know why they got hanged and burnt and drowned and stuff like that? They couldn't keep their mouth shut. They wanted to help. Okay? So they saw pieces of the future and they spoke from their heart. Okay, yeah, that didn't end well. And I know that we just finished said, be yourself and be truly yourself. It depends on what you want to be, because once again, we want to tell you that if you are, let's say, what we just discussed, you're empathic, people don't want to know that. They don't want to know the shit that they're putting out, the output.
Yes.
Right? If you're empathic, people don't want to know that. If you have sight, people don't want to know what demons or whatever you're saying. You're crazy. But if you're precognitive, however, you're useful. You see the difference. You see the difference. If you're seeing demons and dragons and astral projections and whatever else, nobody wants to know that shit. Like, keep that to yourself. And here's a syringe with some Valium on top of it, right? If you see the future, if you can see what's coming down the road, they find that useful. Nobody wants to drug you then. People want to give you money.
Yeah, exactly.
To continue to use that aspect of your sight. People want to give you money because it's useful. You help them avoid shit, right?
At least temporarily.
And so be careful, right? Greeks bearing gifts. Hi, I heard you could see the future. why don't we go out for lunch sometime? And then you go out for lunch and then you're at a table with about 10 people. And they all want to use that aspect of your brain. And then you end up at home drained, down to your last nerve, the last brain cell in your mind. So guys, we're giving you advice, precognitives. Be aware, be discriminating,
yes,
with what you say, and be conscientious that you cannot stop anything from happening to anybody. You don't have that power. You have sight. You don't have power to interfere with another person's journey. That's all I have to say on that subject. Amir, over to you.
Yes, and just on the same as now we're rolling, you got to be careful, because you may end up some African dictator's pet with a gold chain around your neck. He gives you a visit every week one time, so you tell him his future. That's the other downside. Many precognitives in history have ended up in gilded cages of gold, right? So you don't want to become a house pet either. You got to be very careful, because there are powerful assholes out there that would absolutely do it. Don't be fooled. That is the 21st century. Human nature hasn't changed.
No,
so you got to be careful. Yeah. So another thing, when you're presenting your visions of what is most likely to come to pass, it is very important how you present this information to the person. Now, there's an old story, ancient story in Persian literature, and there was a king. So he wanted to know his future. He summoned a powerful seer, somebody who had precognitive abilities. So the seer did their thing and told the king, Your Majesty, all your relatives are going to die before you. So the king said, what kind of bullshit is this? Off with his head. So they removed the seer's head. He said, this guy was an idiot. Bring me someone better. So they brought another seer. And the seer said to the king, Your Majesty, you're going to live longer than all your relatives. And then the king liked this one. So he gave him lots of rewards. So it's the same information. Both precognitives were equally capable, but it's how you present it that could make or break the situation. You can put it in a gentle way, as David said, for them to see the lesson or see the value in a beneficial way to them, in a way that's aligned with their highest good, okay? Or you can put it in an absolute distasteful and undelicate, crude way that will cause them more trauma. And guess what? You're the messenger. They're going to shoot the messenger when it comes to pass, right? So it's very important that you be diplomatic. A lot of the time, you want to avoid giving people the news that is going to basically step on their journey, cause them additional pain. But with the example of the little boy who gave the person a 1-year warning, so to speak, if that person had wisdom, they would have used that time wisely. Mm-hmm. This information was a blessing. Okay, what was going to come to pass was going to come to pass. Nobody can change that. That is that person's journey. That is what they have chosen in that incarnation. Mm-hmm. But they would have 1 year of time to get their affairs in order. If they had wronged somebody, to make peace, right? Fix that karmic debt. But they didn't take advantage of this information, even if they thought maybe 1% it was true. That's what they should have done. They basically wasted, they squandered that divine blessing in the form of the message. So who's to blame? The little boy who was the messenger of the divine gift, or the asshole who had 12 months to live and didn't do anything about it? So yes, we're living in a world with lots of different people. Not all are developed. Ladies and gentlemen, use your gifts wisely, compassionately, and please keep self-preservation in mind. There are people who would lash out at you as if you were the one pulling the trigger.
Mhm.
While you're the one giving them the blessing, really a blessing. Hey, buddy, this is what's coming. Use it wisely. We're not here forever. This is what's coming. Abundance isn't guaranteed. There are ups and downs in life. Maybe you're going to go broke in 3 years. Now that you're abundant, live wisely, give to the poor, be gracious, be generous. So if they choose to squander the blessing, it is not your fault. Don't blame yourself for it. And again, it is what it is. People choose to be blind. You give them sight. They choose to be blind. You give them their eyes. They cover their eyes with a blindfold. That's on them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, the precognitives have it the worst. They've been beheaded. They've been imprisoned. Oh my God. Like if you are precognitive and you're hearing this message, keep it under wraps, guys. Choose a different label. Say, oh, I just think that I just put together the variables and
Yes.
like I could see what the most likely outcome is.
Yes,
Use
but
that kind of
statistical, yes.
statistical permutation analysis. Say this doesn't matter of statistics. Break that down into digestible quantities for somebody, because as soon as they figure that you are precognitive, you have gained a parasite for life. Okay.
Yes. Well, you can't get rid of them.
You can't get rid of them no matter what you do. So
Before you know, they're coming after you with the gold chain for your neck. Okay, you've got to be running for the rest of your days.
Don't do it. Don't do it, guys. The next thing I want to go with is the natural healers. Now, there's some people who go to Reiki courses. There's some people who go to quantum healing and so on. And there's some people who came in with those skill sets right off the bat. Okay. I've had the pleasure to meet a few of these people in my life, people who could literally pull headaches out of people's heads, and with no training. We're not talking about any quantum touch. We're not talking about any kind of Reiki, anything. No, not even massage therapy, no, nothing. But they can pull headaches out of people's heads. They can, they make and it's almost instantaneous, right? Okay. Like just a few weeks ago, I had a friend. She's very humble. She's 76 years old, right? And she says, "Well, can I do some healing on you?" Right? She's 76 years old. She's been on the show some weeks ago. Her name is Donna Kruger. And I sat down in the chair, and this woman's energy was like a surgical blade going through me. Okay. No training, but she's natural. She's a natural witch. So there are some people who are born with a nervous system regulative system that can downregulate anybody else's system around them. Okay. And once again, these people are like precognitives. When people realize you have that ability, you have a parasite for life. And you all know what I'm talking about. For those people who are listening out there that have that ability on board, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? When you have that ability to down-regulate other people's systems, people do not leave you alone. If you have combination of these systems on board, people will never leave you alone. Okay? And
yes, so what a problem.
And that's a problem, because you're actually keeping them healthy. Okay? Yeah. And so when you have an individual who literally can just hug you and take your pain away, you remember Franz Anton Mesmer, Rasputin as an example. These are people in history that had those abilities. Okay? So Mesmer called his concept animal magnetism. That's what he called it. No, it was just down regulation. Okay, Rasputin helped the son of the Tsar and so on, right?
The Romanovs, yeah.
Yeah, the Romanovs, right? This, and we call it hypnosis, but it really is a down regulation system. They had these things on board. Nobody would have taught them that, not to that level. And so A lot of people have this animal magnetism thing going on where they can literally draw the pain and stuff out of people. And once people realize that you have that on board, oh my God, you are never going to get rid of that. Okay, I know people who've been in relationships, they don't know that they have that ability, right? But the first time their spouse or their lover or whatever else has an injury or gets sick and so on, and they hug that person, and the person says, what the hell is going on? It's gone, it's gone, it's gone. And they're like, yeah, I can't lose you. I can't lose you.
That's exactly right, David. It becomes that compulsion to possess the person. Again,
Correct.
with the example of a golden chain and you're nailed to the wall. You become the possession of the Pope or some mafia head of family or some cartel king. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Once they know you work, you become their personal sarcophagus that they can go to and heal everything, right? They don't want anybody else to have you. So you got to be very, very, very careful for your sovereignty, for your freedom. There's nothing people would not do to possess an individual like this. So you got to be very, very careful. If you have that gift, watch out.
Yeah, and notice that this is another section of people with gifts that they don't want to lock up and medicate.
Yeah. Because they're useful, right? Physical. Yes.
Because
people don't care. You know, they don't care about the spiritual aspect. But if it benefits their money or their body, then suddenly they're interested. How short-sighted.
It is very short-sighted. And here's the thing. They usually express it in very original ways. So I've heard people saying, no, I just feel really calm and peaceful around her. Nah, she downregulates your system for you, right? Or I just feel really calm and peaceful around him. Like he makes me feel okay. He downregulates your system. And so what happens is that people's nervous systems, when they are born, they can either go into states of hypervigilance. I think these people were born with a nervous system that has the frequency to downregulate, okay? And so the funny thing about it is that a lot of the people that I've met with those abilities, they don't have the ability to use it on themselves, but they can use it on other people. And that is the saddest thing ever, right? It is the saddest thing ever because you can't use it for yourself, but you can use it for other people. And that has got to be annoying as hell for most people, because then you have a double problem, because you have your own shit to deal with and now you have somebody else's shit to deal with, right? And so if you end up in a relationship or any kind of situation, and the worst thing is when these people decide that they're becoming nurses, Mother Teresa, let's talk about that. There is no doubt in my mind that this lady was one of those people with the ability to downregulate her system. Okay? Florence Nightingale, let's talk about those people. They went into the service of becoming nurses. I would never do that. Okay? Can you imagine Florence Nightingale decided to go into battlefield scenarios and so on, and all the soldiers, and I read her story, said that even unto death, she bestowed a peace upon them. That is lending your nervous system out on a regular basis to the most horrific situations. This woman was a giant among us. Okay? Mother Teresa, yeah, I know she's Catholic, but she was a giant among us, right? In terms of the spiritual development aspect, she was a giant among us because these people lent their nervous systems to other people. Okay? There are a number of other people in history that this has been documented, Rasputin being the most nefarious among them. But then you have people like Florence Nightingale who went into battlefield scenarios where there was the maximum amount of trauma available. And she went from soldier to soldier, broken body to broken body, fear, anxiety, right, trauma, torment, and stuff like that. And she bestowed peace upon people. Okay, so imagine being the Christian Savior Jesus Christ performing these miracles. Can you imagine? Funny enough, Amir, I noticed that modern medicine does not discount the Florence Nightingale story because she was medically trained. She was not medically trained as we know it. She wasn't, because modern medicine would like you to believe that this woman went to nursing school and took the Nuremberg Code and so on. She did not. That is not the truth. But notice that they're not on her case because she came under the concept of nurses, right? Come on, guys.
They whitewashed it, isn't it, David? A lot of these cases, they cannot be denied because of the sheer amount of empirical data. So once that situation exists, so you've got 10,000 soldiers all saying the same thing. I was in agony and I was washed over by bliss. 20 years later, the soldier says the bliss remains. Okay, when you got 10,000 of these guys saying the same thing, now if you stand in the face of this evidence, you're the asshole.
Yeah,
so
very
they,
much
they
so.
They sweep it under the carpet. La-di-da-di-da, we don't want to hear about it. And let's not speak of that, by the way.
I noticed that modern medicine does not pay attention to these kinds of people. There are no studies being done on these kinds of people, but we know they exist.
Absolutely.
They are extremely valuable, and they usually make themselves known in war times and so on.
In the time of need. Well, it's their mission, isn't it, David?
And they can't escape it. They cannot escape it. It's not only these people, there are a number of other people who have been in war times. They had the rudiments of first aid, right? I'm probably more trained than a lot of these people, okay? But they were able to do more service on a battlefield than medically trained doctors.
Absolutely agreed.
So my point that I'm trying to make here is that, first of all, these people run two risks: the risk of parasites attaching themselves to them, and the second thing that they run the risk of is being demonized by established traditional practices of healing. Okay, but for sure these people do exist. They have nervous systems that are unbelievable, right? The same lady I referenced here, to everyone around where I live calls her mother. They don't call her mother because of respect. Well, respect is part of that process. They call her mother because she cannot be denied in terms of she makes everyone feel better in her presence. Okay. And once you have that kind of person around you, that kind of person is valuable. What amazes me is that people with these kinds of abilities literally expose themselves to the worst trauma, the worst situations. They boldly step into these situations. Florence Nightingale, Rasputin, even Mesmer, he took the criticism of modern medicine, right? They step into these situations fearlessly. So I don't even know what advice to give these kinds of people, right? My advice would have been run for the hills. But honestly, they don't run for the hills. They step into grace. And I'm like, how do they do that?
That's the reason for being. They're master souls, high-level souls who choose this difficult mission impossible, right? It takes a badass individual to choose this journey, to walk among a battlefield and heal 10,000 people, 100,000 people. Oh, wow, what a glorious divine being. No, they're not going to run. It's not their character to run. If they wanted to run, they wouldn't choose this mission. No. They're going to do their thing with valor and with glory. Probably what we can, from a place of respect and humility, what we can propose to these glorious beings, many of them hearing these words, watching this broadcast, is that you don't need to be a martyr. You don't need to suffer parasites. You don't need to be negatively affected by this act of service. It is possible to be at your highest potential of strength and well-being while you do this service. So it is not impossible to reflect that gift upon yourself. It is just a matter of choice. Many people go that little bit too far, neglecting number one, which is that vessel, that glorious being that is basically the vessel for that beautiful, divine, powerful soul. And that is a little mistake it's an oversight, really, that can very easily be corrected. All those gifts you bestow with generosity and without expectation, please, it must first go through you.
Understood.
That's it.
Yep. I suspect the last category of people that I want to go through. Oh boy. So far we've only talked about abilities that are positive or neutral. I want to talk to a category of people I call the afflicted. Now, this is a true story, so guys, take it with all seriousness. I do know a lady whose children are born to cause her stress, pain, and anguish. And I'm not talking about some little story from God knows where. There are children that are born with an affliction, some past life affliction. And so these children are destructive, but they're usually destructive to the parents, okay? And so this is a true story. They have tried to lock her outside of her house in minus 13 degrees. They have tried to break her arm. They have tried to beat her up on several occasions. And this woman has had the police called to her house 21 times for the year 2022. Okay? Not a joke, for real. There are children that are born afflicted. They are on a different level. And we know this psychological phenomenon, and it can range from simple misbehavior or hatred of the parents from birth to the worst case that I read was a 6-year-old, was it a 6 or 5-year-old, who set the parents' bed on fire while they were sleeping in the bed. This is not a joke. This is for real. And so I don't class that necessarily as a gift. It is a gift because they definitely have access to what we call the Akashic records. They remember the hate. Okay? Some people have access to the Akashic records, and some people are run by them. They're run by past missions in other lives and so on. And there's no explanation for it. It is a phenomenon in psychology that doesn't even have a label attached to it. We know that it exists. Some people are born to hate and destroy their parents. This is a real thing. It actually happens, and they're born with this affliction. And so for a parent, that is extremely horrifying. Your child is born and they immediately hate you for no reason. You can't understand it. You don't believe in any kind of things like reincarnation of past lives and so on. But you just know that you have a child that is born to make your life a living hell until the day you die. And so, guys, my suggestion under these circumstances is that you develop spirituality real quick, because the afflicted, they don't know what they're doing. It's their mission. And some of the afflicted are like between 1 to 10 years old. This lady that I'm referencing, her son has been in the has been institutionalized, what, 4 times now? Because he has that kind of temper on him that nobody can understand. Now, I need you to understand that this is not the fault of the parents, because this is a phenomena that actually exists in psychology. The lady I'm referencing, she's a Christian, and not the kind of Christian who is a self-righteous Christian. She's a good person inside, a really good person. The father of these kids is a really good person, but the kids have full-on psychosis for no reason. Normal, stable household, but full-on psychosis, and they want to destroy. So honestly, Amir, this is a difficult one to actually talk about, because you can't send the kids back where they came from. You can't do that.
Yes,
But you
that's
got to
correct.
protect yourself as much as possible. So you got to develop spirituality really, really quickly. And
You know,
I don't know what to say where
David,
that is concerned.
David, it's not just children born to good parents, and the children's mission is to destroy these good people. It could be good children born into a degenerate family that do nothing but try to destroy these good children. And so
That's true.
therefore
That's true.
comes karmic, a fine print, manipulation of the reincarnation grid by negative entities. When a powerful soul wants to incarnate, they try to optimize the family they're going to be born in, optimize to fuck them up. A lot of you, ladies and gentlemen, will probably have experienced this, that your family seems to be your worst enemy. That is not accidental.
No, it isn't.
That is the system of domination and control and their influence on the reincarnation cycle to try to make your mission impossible. They try to set you up for failure from birth.
Correct.
And a lot of the time, this is effective.
And I call these people afflicted, right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of what's going on with them has nothing to do with this particular incarnation.
Correct. It's a multi-lifetime mission, maybe hundreds of lifetimes. This soul, this entity that is incarnated in the body of a human, has no other mission or reason for existence but making this light being fail.
Correct.
Right? That's their mission. And they've been assigned lifetime after lifetime after lifetime to fuck with the development of this light being, this elevated being, to the point of murdering them every lifetime. Okay? Now for the elevated being, now what should you do? Well, my friend, they've killed you 1,000 times over. You're back. Do you want them to kill you another 1,000 times? Or do you want to get your mission right once and for all? Protect yourself, protect yourself, protect yourself. Just because the skin suit shares DNA, that means nothing. It's not just the skin suit, it's the energy, it's the soul that is incarnated in this vessel. And you don't choose the family you're born into. You don't choose the soul that incarnates in the vessel of your baby. Have a higher point of view. Don't be a sheep. Don't just look in 3D logic. Look at the bigger picture. Now this evil being is here to make you fail over and over and over. That's their reason. There is no reason for their hatred or psychosis, but one. They're here to stop you.
Correct.
Now it's your duty, your due diligence to protect yourself. Okay, if the motherfucker is evil, separate. Be it a parent, be it a child, be it a grandparent or a grandchild. Yeah. You know what? Fuck him. Fuck him, yeah? You're most important. Self-preservation is the first law. If you allow them to win, you've allowed them to win at your cost. You've missed another time. Guess what? You have to come back, do it all over again. Because as an elevated soul, you're not about to give up, right? Same shit show next incarnation. Stop the bullshit now. Win once and for all. Guess what? These things are beyond time. Once you defeat them in one incarnation, you've defeated them in all time. Let that be this incarnation.
Correct. And this is the only advice that I could give you. Because the geographical cure, if it doesn't work, you may have to actually implement other measures to save yourself. And the problem is that the family ties that bind usually is what stops people from digging themselves out of the hole. But what we want to tell you guys is that family ties It's an honor to have them. It's a dishonor to let them destroy you. It absolutely is.
The worst, yes, absolutely.
Okay. And trust me, we know what we're speaking about where this stuff is concerned. The geographical cure may be your best bet. Get away. Remove the self. Okay.
Put up boundaries, for goodness sake. Yes, healthy boundaries. You deserve to be treated with absolute respect as a human being. That's your human rights, right? If somebody doesn't understand, no. If somebody does not have the good sense to respect your boundaries, you got a serious problem, my friend. You got to enforce these boundaries, not let them be overstepped. Create consequences. If they don't accept something that should be common sense, no means no. If they keep at it, then okay, you recognize, okay, I got to protect my sanity. I got to protect my health. I got to protect my well-being. Most importantly, I must protect my soul mission, my soul purpose, the reason I am here.
That is correct. So guys, honestly, if you are in a situation where there's an affliction, inverted commas, the first thing I can tell you off the top of your head is you have to decide what you want to do. Do you want to stay afflicted, or do you want to remove that affliction from yourself? Because these situations exist to stop you and to destroy you.
We just said it.
You have to decide whether or not you're cool with that. Decide whether or not you're cool with that. That's the first thing. The second stage that I would like to suggest is a geographical cure. Do what you have to do to create distance. Do what you have to do, and don't announce it like, oh, I'm going to move out. No, don't do that.
Just fucking do it.
Make your plans in secret. Set yourself together. Extract yourself. Extract yourself. You know what, Amir? I want to announce something here because we come to the end of our show, but I want to announce something here. We are going to have a call-in program, okay, very soon. And I want you guys to come in and actually interact with us so that we can actually answer these things.
Yes.
Because a lot of y'all have very unique issues that are going on, and we want to be able to challenge ourselves and let you guys challenge us as well, to let you guys actually ask the questions that need to be asked. How do I remove myself from a situation? You do what you have to do. You set it together. You do not announce your intention, and then you remove yourself in that situation, because affliction is not a joke. The point is to us, it's like the Borg. They want to add your biological distinctiveness to their own. They want to absorb you into negativity, hate, and strife. And so you have to decide what you're doing. You know what they want. You have to decide what you're doing.
Exactly. Their mission is to turn you, break you, or kill you. That's it.
And really, there's no preference as to which one you choose.
No, whatever works, right? A fails to B fails then to C, which is actually murdering you. There's no reasoning with this kind of thing. The only thing is removing yourself.
And I just want to clarify what Amir said there. Murdering does not necessarily have to be a knife to the heart. It could be stressing you out until you die.
Yeah.
Natural. That's murdering someone.
Yeah.
All right, Amir, we'll come to the end of our show. I'm going to let you have the last word here. For those of you who have any other further questions, answer in the comments below. Just ask them in the comments below. We will answer you guys. But once again, this show has been awesome.
Absolutely. This was a really touchy-feely one. And it comes from the heart and it comes from experience.
Yes, it does.
So just to round up what we talked about, there are many among us, you esteemed ladies and gentlemen, who know exactly what we're talking about. You're one of these people. We are one of you, okay? So if we want to boil it down to some useful, practical thing, is that your gifts are first and foremost for you. If it's healing, it's for you. If it's precognition, it's for you. If it's emotional heightened awareness, it's for you. Neglecting yourself is foolish and stupid. Please don't do that.
Yes.
Extend those gifts upon yourself first. Let your cup overfloweth, and then let the overflow wash upon the cosmos. You want to go heal 100,000 people on the battlefield? You shouldn't be destroyed by it. You should be happy, fine and dandy, as if nothing has happened. If you can do it that way, power to you. Otherwise, don't do it. You have to protect yourself, preserve yourself, and achieve your mission. Now, if you go for a high score, that doesn't mean you should come out a cripple. You shouldn't come out destroyed. It shouldn't kill you. You should achieve long life, a glorious life, the best life for you. So yes, watch out for number one, which is you.
Excellent. And I just want to give a word of encouragement for those of you who are suffering out there from any of what we discussed. Listen, you guys are not alone here. Okay? If you're watching this broadcast and you understand half of what we said to you, understand that you are not alone. So now raise your head, right, out from the hole that it's in, and take charge of the self. Because it's not only you that has had to go through this stuff. A whole bunch of us have had to go through this kind of stuff. And so it makes you a better person once you embrace your reality, as opposed to trying to cover it up or dig your head in the sand and stuff like that. Believe you me, I know what I'm talking about here. Embrace your reality, come to terms with it, and let your light shine, as Amir has just said. Once again, big things are coming for UCM, but we're going to probably be converting the show to a call-in program for those of you who are interested in asking questions or interacting with us directly. Guys, it's been a pleasure. We will see you guys next week. Take care. Bye-bye.